Hey guys, this is Matthew here with Owl's Nest Finance, and today we're going to talk about a really important topic that's going to help you and your family reach financial freedom, and that's budgeting. One of the single most best indicators that you can have for reaching financial wealth is to give every dollar that you have, every dollar that you own, a place. And so that just creates a playbook for you and your family to follow as you go through life. And so taking this journey, taking this step of financial freedom, it's a hard one. It's a challenge. And so the very best thing that you can do and to start is with a budget. And so today I'm going to walk you through that process. So stick around. Enjoy the video. I'm just using Google Sheets, and so this is just a real quick and easy way that I have found to do a budget. And so I'll start. Let's start by defining a couple of terms. Number one is I'll just type it out here. Gross income. So what is gross income? So first of all, let's say that you have an hourly job and you make $20 an hour, right? You work 40 hours a week. Well, what would your pay be? So I'm just going to do a little formula here. We can do that real quick math, and we can know that that's $800. But I'll just put a formula in here: 20 times 40 equals $800. So if you're working for somebody making $20 an hour, your gross income is going to be $800. Now, if you've been in the job market any length of time, you and I both know that although you make $800, you certainly don't come home with $800. And so that's what brings us to net income. And so net income is actually what you get to bring home. And so whenever we look at that $800, there are taxes and oftentimes benefits, insurance and some of those things that come out of your paycheck. So let's kind of look at what that might look like for a family. And so we'll start with our net income. I'll start with mine first. I'm in we have 5 family members in our household, and so my wife and I each work outside the home. We each bring home a salary. And I'm just going to throw out some numbers here and just assume that I bring home $1,430 every 2 weeks is what my pay period is. So let's just assume that's every 2 weeks. My wife, her name is Melinda, and so she let's say she brings home $1,125. Okay. So we've got those 2 categories set up aside there. We know that that's going to be every 2 weeks or 26 payments in a calendar year. And so I can do that math really quick by using some formulas. And so that will give us our annual bring home pay. So 26, let's label these categories. Let's do net income. Pay periods, total net. So again, we're going to do a formula equals B2 star. So if you hold the shift key and push 8, that gives you a star. 26, enter. And one of the cool things about this Google Sheets is it has some suggested autofill for you. It has a little bit of those bells that kind of help you along. And yes, that's what I want. And so together that would be, for this example, what our take-home pay would be. Now, let's just assume that you might have some kind of side hustle. I've done a lot of things over the years. I've cut grass. I've raised a garden. I've raised animals. I've done woodworking and sold woodworking products. And so let's just put side hustle, and let's say that you make $200 a month. So I'll just put $200 in there, and that was a month. And so I want to drag this formula down. So I'll click on that formula and see that little square right there. I'll click that and just drag that down. And so that tells me that that's roughly $2,400 a year that we can do. Again, not terrible math. This is all pretty easy math that we can do. But these formulas are really going to help out, because I'm going to hope that in your job each year you may get a little bit of bump in salary. So you can take this spreadsheet and let's say next year you come back and you've gotten a raise, and so instead of $1,430, next year I'm going to make $1,560. Okay, and so I type that in and I hit enter, and it automatically updates those totals for me. And so that's what I'm trying to build this toward, so that it can be dynamic, and we can change these things by just changing a few numbers. So let's go ahead and total this up. Equals sum, and I want these three numbers. Oh, that's in as a percentage. So that gives me $2,885 roughly there. But I do have a couple of things here. So I know that this is 26 pay periods. So that's quite a bit more than what we have coming in here. So let's work that out. So I know that for my net income, although it's this amount, let me add this back in over here. Let's do equals this divided by 12, and that's going to give our monthly income. So right now we're starting off, we've done the math, we've looked at our pay stubs, we've gotten paid, and we're going to bring home a whopping $6,017.50 each month. As we start to build this budget, one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is that you should give every single dollar a place to go and work. Every single dollar goes somewhere. And whenever we start using this and abiding by this budget, giving them each a name helps hold them accountable. And so by putting them into categories and saying these are categories that we're going to use, then you're able to follow a plan. And so you don't get as off track as long as you stick to your plan. And so it's important that you go back and you look at this. Maybe it's when you first start off. Maybe it's every day. Maybe you sit down with your spouse and or your partner, and you say, every day we're going to look at our budget, and we're going to look at what we've spent and what we still have remaining. And once you kind of get in the habit of that, then you can maybe extend that out. So we're going to do this once a week, to we're going to do this every month. And it's going to help you to stick to your plan, to be focused on your budgeting. Now, I took those categories that Dave had suggested, and I dropped them in down here. And I'm going to just pull them up right here for just a second. And I'm going to use another formula to kind of help get us in the ballpark of the budgets get us in the ballpark of these percentages of what he's given us. So I'm going to use another formula. So I'm going to say equals. I want to look at this total. Equals $6,017.50. It does it automatically whenever I click that B5 button. Times, again, that's shift and the number 8. So we're going to do that star. 10%, and so that's gonna be over here at the on the left. We do equals, and we draw that out for some reason I got percentages in there. Let me get go back and do the dollar sign. And so when we look at that, we see that it calculated 10% of this. 10% of this number is $601.75. But then you look down here at these numbers and you say, whoa, 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 something's not right there. You did something wrong. Well, one of the things that's kind of cool about this is that whenever we take this and we drag this down, it is doing the exact same thing. So this formula has B5 times B9, and it gives me this number. Well, this formula has B6 times B10. Well, that's not really what I wanted, right? I wanted it to go back and use this number of $6,017.50. So in order to do that, so that I can make sure that that number stays stagnant, I can give it a dollar sign in front of the letter and in front of the number. But I still want the B9 to change. I want that to go down with it. So I'll leave that one alone. But I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the B and in front of the 5. I'm going to hit enter. Then I can take this and drag it. And now that formula should go back every time to B5. 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 And so that gives us the number that we want. Now whenever we start looking at this, we start seeing these percentages. And remember, as we build this budget, I had to adjust some of these. In the opening slide, you saw that it was some of them said 10 to 15% or 5 to 15%. Well, I went ahead and took some liberties and adjusted some of these things so that we know. Otherwise, they wouldn't have equaled 100%. And so this gives us a little bit of a roundabout figure as we're preparing for life, as we're saying, where are we going to live? What are we going to drive? How are we going to eat? What type of things are we going to do with our free time? And this gives us a range or a suggestion of things that we need to focus on. Then you can go in and you can start saying, okay, what is or what are our actual expenses? And so whenever we look over here and we look at housing, and you can start adding in your mortgage. And so let's say that your mortgage, this says it's $1,500 a month. Based on your income, you can afford a $1,500 a month house payment or rent. In my area, $1,500 a month would be a really, really great house. That'd probably be somewhere around a $150,000 home. $180,000 home, something like that. And so, hopefully at that type of income, instead of renting, maybe you could own. There's a lot of good principles though to think about before you start to buy, and so much of that has to do with what we're doing right here, and that's telling your money where to go and saving for those time periods. So once you have that, you can start actually plugging in numbers. I like to split some of these categories out. I know that utilities is a really, really broad category. And so instead of just saying utilities, I want to list those out. So I want to call it electric, water. Maybe you have propane or gas. I include for utilities, I include the internet because I feel like that's an essential part of everyday life. Now, I know that a lot of folks would argue with me on that, but I'm in a situation where I've seen how important internet can be, and so I think that for a family, it's one of those things that's really going to improve the quality of life for folks, giving them greater education, greater opportunities to reach out and connect. So you can start to build those and add in those different items. Transportation. Now this says you're going to be allotted $600 a month in transportation. So if you have a car payment, that's where that would go. If you have fuel and those kind of things, insurance for for your automobile, that might go there. Health, this might be a gym membership or vitamins and minerals. Maybe it's supplements that you take. Allotted there. Now, I personally think that category is a little bit high. So for my personal life, I wouldn't do a lot in that realm. Insurance is pretty costly. One of the things that you really should consider is life insurance and how you're covered and what would happen if you are gone. And so you don't want to think about negative thoughts or bad things, but you need to be prepared. And so part of being an adult, part of being a good parent and a good family member is to have a plan. And so I would just encourage you to think about that. Another area here is recreation. And so as you consider recreation, that may be going out to eat, that may be going out with friends on a Friday night, or maybe it's your babysitting expenses whenever you take a date night with your spouse. All of those things might go under recreation. And so 5% for a month, that seems to be a pretty good chunk of change. So as you start looking at your budget, that might be an area for you to look at. Then you have personal spending. Again, that's over $300, and so maybe you give each person in your household gets a certain amount, and maybe that's your fun money and or your blow money, and maybe you can blow that amount of money. And so $300 again. That's a pretty large percentage of what you're doing here. So I would just encourage you to take a strong look at that. So again, this kind of gives us a roundabout estimate, a roundabout figure as to where we're going with these items. And so now you can start actually going in and putting in a budget item of what you're wanting to put. What you're wanting to set aside for each of these categories. Now, one of the things I like to do, I want to keep track. I want to say how much is left. So I'm going to do another formula. As you can see, one of my themes here is I'm going to use formulas, and so I'm going to do a formula where I say equals this number minus 9 through, whoops, that didn't go right, D9 through D23. Uh-oh, there was a problem. Maybe I've got to get a total here first. So let's do a total. Let's say equals sum D9 through D23. Close that parenthesis. Now let's go back up here to amount. Right now, amount remaining. Let's call it budget remaining. And let's take this and let's go equals this minus this value right here. Now, one of the things that needs to be a dollar sign. Now, one of the things that I'm real big on is visual cues. And so I want to see how much money I have, and I want it to stand out. So I'm going to add a conditional format. So I'm just going to click on that box. I'm going to hit format. I'm going to hit conditional. And then I want to tell it that if it is greater than 0, I want it to be green. All right. But on the flip side of that, if it's less than 0, so I'm going to go back to that, add another rule. If it is less than 0, I want it to be red. Okay? And so I can check my conditional format. I'm just going to put a number in here. I know that it's green right now. It's in the positive. So 6,017.50. So I'm going to say $6,018. Let's see what happens. Oh, now I'm in the red. Okay, and so I can keep track of that just through that visual enhancement. So let's start here and let's go through this this process of adding in some actual numbers to our budget. And so for giving, we're going to do 10%. So $601.75. Now in my budget, in my personal budget, we don't get all caught up in the minutia of the change, the 75 cents or the 37 cents or the 88 cents. We don't do all that. We just round to the nearest dollar. But for this purpose, I'm just going to show you what that would look like. So as you see, I put that figure in there, and it deducted that $601.75 from my budget remaining. So I keep going down through. I want to make a goal. I want to save 10% every month. So I put in that amount. Again, it deducted. I know that my house payment, there are some really nice houses in my area, as I said before, and for about $150,000, 175,000, you're going to be looking at somewhere between $1,100 and $1,200. So let's just say that you're renting a house and you're looking at $1,200 a month. So let's put that in. It's bothering me that these aren't dollars, so I'm going to change that real quickly. Utilities. We know that electric is going to be pretty consistent each month. In fact, some electric companies, we know that in the wintertime, the bill tends to be higher. In the summertime, the bill tends to be higher, particularly if you heat and cool with electric. We know that those will fluctuate some. Some companies even have a monthly thing where they'll standardize it, and so you pay the same thing every month. And so a good estimate would probably be somewhere around $125. Water bill somewhere around $40, $45. Internet. Our internet provider is also a cable provider here, and so it's pretty expensive, and so it's right at $75 a month. Groceries. Again, I'm a family of 5. I've got 3 growing children, and so that number goes toward that 15% range. And so I'm going to go ahead and budget $900 for the grocery. Transportation. If you have a car payment, you go ahead and put your car payment in here. Go ahead and put your fuel expenses, and I would even like to go in and separate those out. So going in here, and so we'll say car payment. Maybe you have 2 vehicles in your household, and one of them you've got a car payment on. Okay, you need to be cautious on the upside of that car payment because it could be one of those things that kind of gets you in a trap. And so we know that vehicles depreciate; they go down in value. Whenever you start paying on a vehicle, there's a lot of good advice that you can take from that. But probably the average car payment is somewhere around $350. So I'm just going to put $350 there. Fuel. It costs you something to drive that thing, and let's say on a monthly fuel budget, we're somewhere around $200. Okay. Health, again, all of these categories I like to break down a little bit further. Let's say you have a gym membership. Let's put that over. Maybe you subscribe to an online workout site, and so let's say that's $45 a month. You get some supplements. That's another $55 a month. So let's go ahead and put that over there, and I'll get that aligned up. Insurance is going to be a very expensive cost, particularly when we talk about health insurance. Depending on where you work or what your job is, it can really fluctuate with how much you are getting charged for that insurance premium. And so your employers do a really good job of providing that for you if you're in that situation. And some of you may not be. And so I was told once before by someone, they said, they were just starting out, and the person was trying to sell them on their job, but the pay wasn't much. It was, 12 or 14 bucks an hour, and the guy was trying to sell him on the benefits that they had, the health insurance and that kind of stuff. And he said he went home, he told his wife, he said, honey, we can't eat a benefit. And that's true. But as you start talking about your family and growing your family, that health insurance is going to play a big, big factor. So for that, let's budget $450 a month. Recreation. Let's see where we're at. We have $1,369 left. Recreation. This month we got a big concert coming up. We've got Junior. He's playing Little League Baseball, and they're traveling around. And so we know we've got a tournament that we're going to go to, and so we're going to include that in there. Travel baseball. We're going to spend overnight in somewhere that month. So that's going to really, really eat into our recreation budget for that month. And so as you do that, as you sit down, as you work through this budget, you need to think about all of those little things that are going to pop up. So let's budget $300. We're going to go see a concert that month, and so I put that in there. That's going to be $100, and so we're probably over our budget on that particular category. Personal spending is going to come along. In personal spending, there's a lot of different categories that I would take into this. I call it personal care in our budget, but that includes haircuts, my trip to the barber shop that goes in there. Personal care might be, if you go to the chiropractor, or that could be under health maybe. But if you, go somewhere for, just mental health, that you're taking a break or you're talking to someone, or you're going to get a massage. All of that could be considered maybe personal spending, or maybe health care, or it could just be clothing. And so you can set yourself a budget for each month, and you know that at different times of the year you're probably going to spend more money than others. So I know with our 3 children going back to school, getting school clothes and shoes and backpacks and those kind of things that are worn out, that typically sends us kind of up the hill in this budget. So let's go ahead and add $300 for that. And then last, I would say miscellaneous. And so we are in this category. You never know what's going to happen. And so whenever you start talking about miscellaneous, this could be a car repair. This could be the hot water heater. Now, those might fall under what we would consider emergencies. And in our savings account, we should be starting to account for that. And so Dave recommends that you get a $1,000 emergency fund. And whenever you have those things crop up, that really helps you out and doesn't sink you. So we have $500 left. So we have $600 left. Let's give it $500 here, and then we can go back through and we can start looking at and adjusting these things. I know that there's some things in utilities that are left out, like your trash bill. For us, it's every 3 months we have to pay for our trash. And so that all those things can go back and be adjusted. But the goal here is that you can go through and you can say, I want this budget to equal 0. I don't want anything remaining. I want every single dollar to have a name, to have a space, and that's exactly what a budget is doing for you, and it's allowing you to set that up. And so this kind of the process that I go through to sit down with my family and to talk with my wife about our budget. And so we typically this time of year would have done that and have went through that. And as you get started, maybe it's something again you need to revisit a little more often. So I hope as you kind of take on this challenge of getting your finances in order and trying to stick to a budget, maybe this spreadsheet and this process of sitting down and taking on a budget will help you out.